Hey guys, welcome back to Oopsy Daisy. If I sound a little sniffly, it's because I have tried to record this podcast several times now. And the first time 2 weeks ago, something happened with the computer settings and it was ended up to just be 40 minutes of me like a talking head with no voice. I just recorded 45 minutes worth right now, and apparently my mic was muted. So either I'm saying something that the Lord doesn't want me to say, or the enemy is really fighting hard not to get this out. So my original plan was to continue with the Psalm 23:4 teaching series. And I've been walking through that verse actively the last month. Let me read it to you. It says, "Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort and protect me." And I think as I spoke this message, I was trying too hard to teach the verse. And as I stopped again to try to record this better, the Lord just said to me, just tell what you've been through. And so here we go. You want to talk about walking through the valley of the shadow of death and fearing evil? It's been more so in the last month than ever before in my life. Let me just back up a little bit and give you a little context. We recently sold the house that I lived in when my husband and I were divorced. It's where I did drugs and did demonic things and witchcraft and diseases and all of these terrible dark things in my life. And it was the only remnant, the only holdover of that part of my life that we still owned, that I still actively thought about, had to manage, just an open door still. And this summer, we felt the Lord move and say, it's time to get rid of this. You have to shut the doors. It's time to be done. And so through kind of a series of miraculous steps, it gets sold way easier than I thought it would, for way more money than I ever thought it would. And I just felt like there was this something big on the other side of selling this house. And I was so excited to shut that door and experience this windfall of blessing and this abundance and this joy and this grace. And we sold that house, and it was like everything tanked after that, emotionally, physically, mentally, just struggle after struggle after struggle. And so we have really deeply been in a valley for about a month now, and it's been scary. Our youngest, who has always, I would say, dealt with darts from the enemy of anxiety and fear. It's one of the biggest tools that the enemy uses to shut her up, shut her down, harass her. And so we've learned to work through that, and it's been very, very manageable. But after we sold this house, it was like a gigantic flare of intense fear. And I'm not talking like I'm afraid of the dark or I'm afraid of getting kidnapped. I'm talking that this girl, who's almost 13, is shaking uncontrollably, sweating, crying, can't function, like starting to disassociate. Like you watch the light kind of slip from her eyes as this fear of everything overtakes her and just shuts her down. We immediately went into prayer. We immediately started giving her biblical tools. Let's look up some verses that you can say, and you can swing your sword of the spirit and fight the enemy this way. Here's hope that you can cling to. Here's some physical actions that you can do to ground yourself when you feel fear overtake you. Just lots of like talk therapy and counseling and biblical tools that we're handing her. All the things that I knew how to do, and it's not getting any better. In fact, it's getting worse. Like she was happy, she was healthy, she was with friends, and all of a sudden they're at the kitchen table doing arts and crafts, and she is in the TV room with us, shaking, overcome by unexplainable, heart-stopping fear, dread, despair, anxiety. So we're like, hey, you know what? We know that fear is not from the Lord. We know that fear is a spirit, that these things are messing with her. And so we started rebuking them, deliverance prayers over her, and just really trying to go to war for her in prayer and with spiritual tools. And nothing worked. And so I'm praying every day, all day. This is becoming an all-consuming activity to walk this girl through her fear. And we take her to our pastor and our children's pastor, and they pray over her. And just really everybody's doing everything that they know how to to help her through this. And you can just see that it's wearing her down. And so she starts saying things to me like, Mom, I'm having thoughts of killing myself. I'm having thoughts that this is a burden to you guys to have to deal with. I'm having thoughts of, I'm so tired of feeling this way. I'm so tired of fighting this fear that I think it would be easier to be dead. I don't know if you've ever experienced that as a parent, but it is the most fear-inducing thing that I have ever heard. To think that your child is in the grips of a feeling so strong that even though she knows she doesn't want to die, it seems like a good option because she's so exhausted of fighting. And so I just keep praying. I keep asking the Lord, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And so we just keep pouring into her verses, encouragement, love, attention, discussion, all of these things that we think this girl needs. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And it's like I can feel this death feeling when it overtakes her. I watch her at the kitchen table. The light kind of slips from her eyes and her body starts fidgeting and she starts rubbing her legs because her mind is subconsciously trying to ground herself in reality and be in the present so that this feeling doesn't overtake her. I'm watching the shadow of death drop on my kid. And I cried out to God again. And I said, I'm not going to lose my kid. What do I do? And it was crazy because the Lord was right there. He was right there. And he said something that frankly scared the pants off of me, but I knew it could only be him because it didn't make sense. He said to me, you can't pay attention to that fear. And I was like, what? I'm like, this is a big deal. She is in the valley of the shadow of death here. We're walking through this. He said it wants attention. It wants all of this drama. It wants everybody to keep focusing on it. And the more you focus on it, the bigger it grows. And I wrestled with that because what I know of and what my husband knows of with his counseling background is that you talk about it. You talk about your feelings. You get them out of your head. You get them off your chest. You speak about them because in the dark is where those depressive, anxious feelings tend to flare up. And so to me, in the natural, I'm like, we can't just do nothing. And he said, I'm not asking you to do nothing. I'm asking you to focus on me and where I am in this. And so I was like, you know what? This could totally backfire. I could say this to my daughter and I could tell her, I don't think we should give this feeling so much attention. And she could twist that in her mind and say, my mom doesn't care that I'm having suicidal thoughts. Like that could have backfired and then she could have been up in her room later doing God knows what with God knows what tool to harm herself or to end her life. But I could just feel the presence of God in that statement amidst weeks of just this like flutter of chaos and fear and intense feeling. It was like this moment of peace, of stillness. And it was just a quiet suggestion of, you can't focus on it so much. And then he gave me a vision, and it was of like a little chihuahua. Have you ever seen videos of like really old chihuahuas? They're so ugly. Their tongue like hangs out the side of their mouth. They're like a real hot mess. And so he gave me a picture of this ugly chihuahua jumping around my daughter's feet and barking and yipping nonstop. And it was like every time we focused on it, it would yip louder and it would bark louder and it would whine louder. He said that chihuahua is the spirit of fear. It is doing everything right now to make a commotion and to get your attention. And so I share with my daughter everything that I heard. I say, I love you and I care about how you're feeling and what you're going through, but I think there is a little ugly punk spirit barking around you right now, and we are pouring all of our energy into making it be quiet, and we are not focusing on the fact that the Lord is with you here. The Lord is walking next to you here. He's moving you somewhere. He's protecting you here. And I said, we've been giving you all these tools to show up for the battle, and you keep taking tools out of your quiver and using them against the enemy, and all it's doing is getting you exhausted. But the reality is that the Lord can take care of this. He can take care of all of this. But we have to focus on Him and what He's doing and what He's asking of you during this. 24 hours goes by, and I'm honestly watching her very, very closely to make sure that the enemy isn't twisting my words in her head and she doesn't go do something drastic because she doesn't think I care about, these feelings. And she came up to me the next day and told me about a radical encounter that she had with Jesus, where she saw herself turning away from this spirit, from this fear, from this valley that she was walking through, and walking towards the Lord. And that He was asking her to lay all of her feelings, all of that fear down at the foot of the cross, at His feet, to let Him deal with it. And so we went through this kind of ritual that she asked to do. Ritual seems like a weird word for it, but she said that the Lord had asked her to write down all of these feelings on little pieces of paper, put them in a box, and then she was supposed to throw the box in a dumpster and turn her back on the dumpster and walk away and walk towards Jesus and choose to walk with Him instead of walking into battle with that fear every day. And she did it. And let me tell you, the next morning she woke up and it was like my kid was back again. She has been incredible ever since. And not only has she been incredible, she has been hungry for God's word. She's been praying harder than she ever has in her life. She's been committed to not missing time doing devotionals and time reading the Bible, and she's listening to, what the Lord would have her read and what He's trying to say to her through all of these things. And she's just soaking up God's word like I don't even do. I mean, this girl's going to be 13 in November. And I'm watching her study the Bible in a way that just blows my mind. And so, as I was just thanking God for walking her through that, everything kept coming up with this verse, Psalm 23:4. It was like the daily Bible verse. It would pop up in my devotional. It would pop up on Instagram, TikTok, songs they would mention on the radio. It was just like over and over and over again. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff comfort and protect me. And so as we walk away from our dark valley that we've walked through recently, I really can see the value of this verse, the promise of this verse in your life for your hard times. I love how it starts with, even when I walk through the valley, even when. You don't use the words even when unless it's going to happen for sure at some point. David doesn't say, if I walk through it, or on the off chance that bad times come. No, he says, even when. It's inevitable. John 16:33 flat out tells us that we will have troubles. It says, I have told you all of this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. I love how the Amplified Version says it. It says, in the world you will have tribulation and distress and suffering, but be courageous, be confident, be undaunted, and be filled with joy because I have overcome the world. And I think that's part of why this knocked me and us so sideways so quickly, is because we were looking for the other side of that blessing of selling that house, and looking for the amazing things, the abundance. We were looking for the ease, the comfort that we subconsciously expect comes when we walk with the Lord. And instead of that, we fell right into a really, really dark valley, right into a really, really hard time. Listen to this word: even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. You got to pay attention to little words here and there in these verses. David doesn't say I'm walking into it. He doesn't say I'm camping there. He doesn't say that I've built my new house here because you walked me into it and therefore this must be where I have to stay. No, the Lord walks us through the valley of the shadow of death. We don't live there. We don't struggle to survive there. There is an entry point into the valley. There is a temporary season and a time that we spend in the middle of it, and then there is an exit point. So often we get caught when we stare at what's happening, when we stare at the problem, like when we were so busy focusing on that fear, we weren't realizing that there is a beginning and an end to the struggle, that this is not a forever thing. And so when you're in the middle of this and it feels like it's never ending, we start preparing for life like it's going to be there forever. I'm going to be real with you. When she was talking about all this stuff, I was like, okay, I got to look up Christian counselors. I was researching medication. Like, does she need to be on depression medication? What does this look like? Can we leave her alone to go to a volleyball game or to go out to eat? Or do we need to have a babysitter come and hang out with my 13-year-old just to make sure she doesn't hurt herself? I literally was in my head starting to rearrange our entire existence and routine because I assumed that this was our new normal. And I think so often we get stuck in a valley, and our first response is to make it as comfortable as possible there. Like, okay, this is my new thing. How am I going to live in this? Rather than just hunkering down and getting through it. We lose the light at the end of the tunnel because we are so deeply focused on the problem and the darkness that we are walking through. The next part of the verse is, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff comfort and protect me. Let's talk about this rod and staff and how this helps us understand why we don't have to be afraid. So the rod and the staff were shepherd's tools. Each of them had their own job. The rod was for protection. So the rod was like this long wooden club that they would put metal and iron into the end of it, and they would swing it and hit things with it, hit predators with it, hit whatever was attacking the sheep with that. Shepherds spent a lot of time using this tool, practicing with this tool. They fashioned it to fit their hand perfectly. It was the perfect length for their height. It was the perfect throw weight for their own arm strength. And they practiced for hours learning how to throw it at lions and other predators that would attack the sheep when the sheep were grazing. They could hit things from up close with it with a swing, but they also were deadly accurate with throwing this rod. Let me tell you, those sheep were safe. We have to realize that when the Lord says, my rod protects you, he is all powerful, with a powerful arm, with perfect aim. He is like my premier predator protection. And I think in our heads we know that. We do know that the Lord protects me, the Lord guides for me, the Lord provides for me. But when we get into these valleys and we get under attack, stress, financial hardship, conflict, struggle, anxiety, depression, fear, marriage issues, family issues, weight issues, food issues, anything that you can think of pops up and starts breathing down our neck, and we freak out. We forget that the Lord's powerful arm is around us. Let me tell you a conversation. I'm going to actually read it to you from my journal, because I thought to myself, Lord, if you are so powerful, if you are such a protector and you are so on the job and you never sleep and I am your sheep and the predators can't get to me, why am I feeling the heat of this? Why am I taking darts from the enemy? Why am I walking through this? Why? And so I flat out asked the Lord, kind of sassily, I asked him, why? Why? Like, sir, it seems like you're sucking up your job. What's happening up there? He said this, do you trust that I'm your shepherd and I will step in to protect you? Yep, I do. Do you trust that I have good plans for your life? That I order your steps and I direct your path? Yep, I believe that too. Do you trust that my eyes are in every place? That all power is in my hands and that you are protected under the shadow of my wings? And I was like, yeah, yes, Lord. I believe all of that, Lord. And he said to me, then why do you think these trials and these hardships have just slipped past me into your life? Do you think I fell asleep? Do you think I swung my rod at a predator and missed? I said, I guess not. And he said, so if I'm a good protector, if my aim is perfect, if I'm always guarding you, what's the only logical conclusion about why these hardships have reached you? And I said, you lifted the rod and allowed it. And he said, yep. And that's so hard for us to swallow. It makes us angry. Even now, as I think about that, like, God, why would you lift your rod and allow my daughter to walk through what she walked through? You're supposed to love us. You're supposed to take care of us. You're supposed to fight our battles for us. You're not supposed to sit around on your hands, God, while I get hammered by hell. But then I thought of Job. Do you remember Job? That guy lost everything. His family, his friends, his fortune, his farm. I mean, everything. All because the Lord allowed the enemy to test him, to prove that no matter what the circumstances, that Job would not quit on God. He wouldn't stop believing. He wouldn't stop praising. He wouldn't stop obeying. And there's so many stories like this in the Bible where God allowed his people to walk through really, really hard times. There are really stubborn people, and God knew that sometimes comfort and regular life can't teach us what a trial can teach us. It can't bring us closer to God like a trial can bring us closer to God. Staying comfortable can't burn stuff off of us that needs to be burned off like a trial can do. And that's what I realized, that when we walk through really, really hard times, it's usually for one of three reasons. God is testing us. He's training us, a characteristic, a skill, a mindset that we'll need later to walk out our kingdom purpose, or he's teaching us to rely more deeply on him. I saw this in my daughter. I mean, actively within a week of her coming out of that valley, she had said that the Lord has given me this testimony. The Lord has given me this story. I'm supposed to share this. I'm supposed to talk about this because what God did for me, he can do for other people. She said prophecy upon prophecy over her life, that she has something deeply powerful in her. There's been prophetic words that she's going to speak to nations. And fear is one of the things that has held her back for so long. Being scared to talk to people, being scared of new situations, just being scared in general of like moving into uncomfortable spaces. And let me tell you, the Lord walking her through this valley, this fear, and teaching her how to dominate it, he's given her tools. He's given her training that she needs later to walk into hostile, dark, uncomfortable places and share her story. And so walking through all of this and thinking about how when things pop up in our pasture, we get so scared of it. We get so scared of these hardships. We get so scared of the valley of the shadow of death because we think that bad things are happening to us. Yeah, and that might be true. But we have a choice in how we respond to it. We can like wilt and weep and turn to despair and scream, "Why is this happening to me?" But now I've started to think about it like being a boxer in training. You know, like in Rocky when he had his coach in his corner. "Come on, Rocky, you can do it. Hit him with the uppercut," just training him punch by punch. Those boxers don't get in the ring without having sparring partners that they fight with first in practice rounds to train them for the real fight. And so the coach specifically and strategically chooses sparring partners for their boxer, sparring partners that are going to stretch them and grow them, something that they can't beat easily, but they can be coached through and taught how to deal with and taught how to conquer, taught how to knock out. And so when something like this pops up, we have to start thinking, you know what? I'm in a ring with a practice partner. I've got a great coach that's allowing an opponent in front of me that's not going to take me down. Your boxing coach isn't going to bring in somebody that's absolutely going to annihilate you and you'll never stand up to throw another punch again. That's not the point. He's brought in somebody that is beatable, but that will stretch you. Let's talk about the other tool that's mentioned in this verse. It says, "Your rod and staff protect me and comfort me." So the rod was for protection, but the staff is for comfort. And the staff had a lot of uses as a shepherd's tool. They would lift like a newborn lamb and lay it next to his mother with that. If a shepherd noticed that a sheep was struggling, he would reach his staff into the herd and hook that sheep and gently bring him over so he could inspect it, so he could give it affection, so he could see what was wrong with it. There was also sheep at the edge of the flock. Sheep are like people. They have their own personalities too, and some are really shy and standoffish, and they didn't really get along with the group, and they weren't really connected to the shepherd as deep as some of the other ones. And so a shepherd would see that. And in order to help that sheep build relationships, he would use that staff and hook the sheep and bring it into the flock. Or he would hook the sheep and bring it closer to him so that he could have interaction with it and teach the sheep, "I'm safe. I'm good. I'm helping you. You can trust the flock and you can trust me." And one of the last uses of a shepherd was to guide an individual sheep onto its proper path. And this would happen when they were walking and a sheep would kind of veer to the left and veer to the right and just sort of like drunkenly stumble along. The shepherd would just take his staff and gently lay it on the sheep's side so it could feel it. It wasn't like a hit. He wasn't whacking it. He wasn't pushing it. It was just this gentle pressure, just a nudge on their side that prevents that sheep from wandering into something dangerous and keeps him close to the flock, keeps him on the right path. We've fallen into this lie as Christians that all pressure is spiritual warfare, that a tug or a nudge or a pushing from one side or the other means we're under attack and that we need to run away from it and we need to freak out about it. I want to challenge you here. If you're feeling pressure, if you're feeling pushed, if you're going through something, is it possible that the shepherd is guiding you? Is it possible that he's lifted his rod, that he's allowed something to pop up in your pasture, and now he's using his staff to push you where he wants you to be? That pressure you feel isn't necessarily dangerous. It's not necessarily bad. So instead of running away from it or wilting under the pressure of it, what if we just lean in and recognize that quite possibly this is the Lord's good hand on our life? It's steering us away from disaster. It's pushing us to better pastures. It's bringing us closer to his side. This should comfort us, knowing that we've got guardrails, we've got somebody looking out for us, and we've got somebody guiding us towards the best path for ourselves. I want to encourage you to remember Psalm 23:4 when you are going through hard times. And I'm going to be honest with you, for believers all over right now, there's a lot of tough times. It feels like every conversation I've had with somebody in the last couple weeks, it has started with, oh boy, I've been through it lately. Oh my gosh, you'll never believe what's been happening lately. It seems like there's just a lot going on for believers. But this verse you can cling to as your hope that yes, you're going to have hard times. No, it's not going to last forever. You don't have to be afraid through it. God is using his tools to protect you, to grow you, to train you, to teach you. If you let the Lord have his way with you and fight your battles and let him grow you and push you, you are going to come out the other side battle ready, purpose ready. You're gonna come out the other side stronger, not carrying the baggage you've been dragging with you for so long. You're gonna be closer to him, just nestled in his back pocket. That's where he wants you. Grab onto Psalm 23:4 as your hope and your encouragement. Yes, I know it's hard. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's scary, but it is temporary and it is for a good purpose. You do not have to fear the valley. You do not have to fear the evil that you might think is in that shadow. The Lord's on the job. He's got great tools to protect you and great tools to guide you. And the best part is he walks you right through it. He gives you the wisdom that you need. He'll speak the hope that you need. He'll calm your heart when you need it. He'll give you like wild advice that seems totally backwards from what you think you should do. But when you follow it, you realize there's freedom and there's hope and there's joy and there's healing in that. I hope you take this with you. I love you guys. We'll talk next week.